We're recording? Is this live? Okay, we're live. This is giving millennial pause. Why was there a 10-second gap before I opened my mouth to speak? Anyways, you're confused. I'm flipping confused. Why are you here? Why am I here? Who are you? Who am I? I don't know. I guess that's kind of my responsibility to explain. This sounds so rehearsed. This actually sounds like a flipping school play script that I crammed the night before. I did not. I'm awkward. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that when it comes to articulating myself and getting thoughts from my brain to my mouth to the medium through which I'm speaking, I don't ever have a problem with that. I've never had a problem with it, but I don't know why. But for this particular podcast, I don't know if it's just because this is like such a passion project for me and that it's been a long time coming, that I'm almost kind of feeling imposter syndrome, or that I'm feeling extreme levels of self-doubt, but I just can't seem to articulate myself. This is like my 5th take. I'll be so real. It's not that I just opened it and just knew exactly what I need to say or how I need to say it, and I feel like I sound so rehearsed, but I feel like if I put that energy out there, that's what you're gonna feel back. You're gonna feel the awkwardness, you're gonna feel the confusion, but hey, maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you'll feel a little bit more welcome. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to start talking for real. Another thing, the school debater in me, who's used to regurgitating sentences like at lightning speed in order to get my point across before the time runs out, I find it really hard to speak quickly. I mean, I struggle with speaking very, very fast and trying to get everything out in one go, and I tend to not breathe when I speak. So if I sound... You hear that? I'm probably going to cut that out. But if it sounds like I'm a little bit out of breath, it's because I am. So now that I've gotten that out there, you're probably like, who's this stranger and why is she telling me about her breathing issues? Anyways, hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Keziah, and this is my podcast. I'm the host of Black Sheep. Welcome. You guys are my first listeners, which is crazy to think about. I hope that I can look back on this and be like, aw, y'all have been here since day one. But hey, let's see how long I can keep this up for. Why am I putting this energy out? The podcast, like my whole ethos is quite literally the opposite of self-doubt and self-deprecation. So I need to stop doing it to myself because it's rather hypocritical. Also, if you see me looking this way, it's because my face is here, but my camera, because I'm recording with my iPhone and not a fancy little camera, someday. But for now, we're going to use my iPhone. My camera's there. My face is here. Best believe I'm looking at my face because I don't need to say too much. But anyway, I'm going to explain why the hell I'm here, because I've said this about 3 times. I've promised to explain why I'm here, and yet I've not said anything. Anyway, for those of you who know me, I've been wanting to do this podcast for a really, really long time. Like I said, I've done debating for time, so like I've always had a passion for writing and learning and, eloquence and intelligence and sharing that in so many different ways. And I also just find people as a whole very, very interesting. I feel like growing up, right? This is just my perspective of my own life. I feel like I know my life better than other people do. So if other people who grew up with me beg to differ, so be it. But I would think of myself as someone who was somewhat of a wallflower, I guess. I wouldn't say I was close with anybody. I was definitely a friendship floater. I didn't make very many close connections, but I think someone who was in the midst of everything. When I say everything, I mean the conversations, the drama, the storylines, all of that. I got to watch kind of like from the outside looking in at the way people interact with each other on a day-to-day, and it always just fascinated me so much, learning about people's stories and the fact that you might think in your individual life that you're the only person who shares this unique experience of life, but when you meet other people, you'll realize that your storylines are quite similar, and I think there's a comfort in that. And I found that especially in university. I grew up as a teenager having a lot of opinions that may have gone against the grain of what I was raised to believe, and it did feel quite isolating at the time. But it's not until I went to university that I realized, oh wait, there's other people out here just like me. And that's kind of the premise of Black Sheep, I guess. If you couldn't tell by my accent, because some people think that I have quite a neutral accent, I am Irish. I was born and raised in Ireland. My whole life went through the whole education system, but I am of Cameroonian descent as well. So I think that my outlook on life is a lot more varied. So I think I do have a lot to offer in terms of perspective and belief systems and how mine clash with what I was conditioned under. But we'll get into that in another episode, I guess. But yeah, I guess it's safe to say that I am a people lover, not necessarily for what they've done for me, because once I get into my story and the way that I've experienced life, you'll see that I've actually been done dirty quite a lot. But I don't love people for that reason. It's not for what they've done for me, but it's like how they not how they do each other, though, because that sounds so crazy. That's phrased so strangely, but I just mean like seeing how we operate on a day-to-day and how we think when people speak so passionately about things, whether it's stuff that makes absolutely no sense, things that are really dumb, things that are incorrect, like very clearly morally corrupt. But I still find it so fascinating, because I'm like, what conditioned you to be like this? Or how were you raised this way but still turned out almost the complete opposite of that? That blows my mind, and I really want to get into that on this podcast. And you're probably wondering why I chose a podcast or video diary or whatever medium of conversation. And I think it's just because in my mid to late teens, early 20s, the pandemic, where we were home for majority of my final year of secondary school and my first year of university, that transition from late childhood to early adulthood was extremely hard, because I realized that I had not formed any close friendships or any close connections that I could rely on within that time. So I was left alone with a lot of my thoughts, and it got very dark very quickly, not just in a depression sense, but also just like having an idea or having something to say and having no one to say it to. I think that's what was really, really, really hard. And even in the time that I was involved with other people socially in person and whatnot, I found myself speaking and almost like hitting a brick wall, because people would rant to me about all their life stories and tell me everything that they want to tell me, but as soon as I try to interact or talk about my life, I kind of just got no response whatsoever. So like I said, just felt like talking to a brick wall. And I feel like podcasts definitely saved me in that aspect, because it felt like having a friend in the room. So whether it was one person talking or a group or whatever, I could be doing my chores, I could just be living my life, and there would always be a friend in the room. There would always be someone that I could, bounce back. Like I could hear something that they say that I agree with, and I'll be like, oh, period, like yes. Like even though there wasn't physically somebody there who's listening to what I'm saying or what I'm thinking, it did give me that sense of comfort. And I'm hoping that I could maybe be that for somebody else. I would love that. I love the podcast world. I love this world so much. There's a lot of brain rot on here. I'll be real. I'm so tired of hearing who pays for this date and who takes who out and who deserves flowers at Valentine's Day and blah, 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 blah. All this brain dead conversation. I'm tired of it. But regardless, I love the podcast scene, because you're doing us a service and I appreciate that. And I wanted to add something too. I know the market is a bit saturated right now, but you know what? I doubted myself for a long time for that reason. And I think I'm tired of doubting myself. Like this is my time. This is my time. I've been wanting to do this for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've had a myriad of reasons for why I pushed it off for so long, and I'll get into that later. But for now, I just want to say welcome. I'm hoping that this could be, a little family, a little vibe. And when I say that this podcast is called Black Sheep, I'm not trying to unite all the people who are like, there's nobody else in the world like me. No, like this is not a pity party that I'm trying to create here of all the sad little black sheep. What I want to do is almost kind of like spin that term on its head. Like, what does black sheep even mean? And I'll get into that now, because I think I wrote something down about it. Okay, so basically, with black sheep, people think of people who are on their own in the world, and they stand up for all the wrong reasons, and they go against the grain based on the society or the structures that they were raised to uphold. And maybe they wake up one day and decide that's just not who I am. I feel like that relates to me. You'll hear more about it as episodes go on, but there are a lot of things that I was raised to believe that I don't, and they're not part of my personality, and that's perfectly okay. But there was definitely a lot of conflict in my mind, and also with the people around me and people in my life. So I would love to speak on that. And the reason why I do is because when you take in your life right now, you may think as a black sheep that there is nobody else like you. There's almost like a sense of hopelessness that you're never going to find your people, and you kind of just take on this grave responsibility of upholding these values that are completely contrary to the rest of the people surrounding you. And it's a huge responsibility. It's a huge cross to carry, and it's quite sad. Like when you think about a future like that, it's quite bleak. And to me, when you put it in the perspective of taking every single black sheep that exists on this planet and putting them all in the same field, you'll find millions, billions of black sheep that exist across all walks of life, all cultural backgrounds. You'll find so many of us that are so similar. And even like if you scroll on TikTok, for example, you'll see people say, oh my gosh, I've never had an original experience. Honestly, that's kind of true. Our experiences will continuously overlap until the end of time. And I think that that's one message that I really want to drive home with this podcast. It's that whatever you're thinking or whatever you're being criticized for, when I'm talking about criticized, I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm the only one in my house who's a racist or whatever. No, like, let's apply common sense. This message isn't for you. Like, seek help, read a book, seek employment. I don't know. Indeed is right there. Very good website. Mwah. Found most of my jobs on there. Lies. They never get back to me. But anyways, after all that ramble, what I'm trying to say is that to anybody listening to this who has been brave enough to go against the grain, or who has a different outlook on life that they've spoken about and have been shunned and shut down, and you've been forced to go into your shell because you'd rather stay quiet and meek and silent rather than speak up and be shunned and ostracized, I'm going to just say one simple thing that I would love to drive home, and that is that the world was made for people like you. Let me explain what I mean. Everyone on this planet has their purpose, okay? I'm not saying that your purpose was to purposely shake things up. If that's what you were born to do, then cool. But what I mean when I say the world was made for people like you, people like black sheep, it's that you create difference, you create conversation, you create contrast in the way that we live our lives. If everyone were to think in the exact same way, we all know how boring and one-dimensional our lives would be. What would we even talk about if we were all the exact same? Let's really think about it, okay? But one of the main reasons that I found it really hard to start this podcast was, as I said, the podcast industry or just social media as a whole is very saturated with a lot of people with a lot of ideas that I would have thought to myself were so revolutionary and so fantastic and unique and something exciting to bring to the table. And then I hear someone articulate it in a somewhat similar way and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the point? Who's going to listen to me? Like, what do I have to bring to the table? Like, who cares? I have nothing unique or perfect that would make me stand out. But like, this need for perfectionism and this need to be revolutionary creates a fear that paralyzes you. The thing that hindered me from starting this podcast was the fact that I don't have any revolutionary ideas of my own, but one that just absolutely isn't true, because though, like I've said, there are many conversations that have been repeated and a lot of ideas that are constantly recycled throughout social media, the way that you phrase it is always going to be completely unique and different to the next person. So first of all, I don't know why I was even doubting myself in that aspect, because no one's going to say things like me. No one's going to phrase things the way that I do. And even if they do, right, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with, simply reigniting the flames of prior conversation and putting your own twist on them and sparking a brand new conversation and obtaining a brand new perspective from other people or within your own self? That's how we evolve as human beings. Like, just because one person has had like this pinnacle perfect idea, that doesn't set the new standard for peak intelligence. Enlightenment is a continuum that excels on a daily basis the more that we speak about things and the more that we bring ideas to the table. And those ideas, yes, can stem from prior conversations, but that doesn't mean that new ideas are not welcome. They always are. They always are. I've listened to several podcasts who may speak on the exact same topic, but I will always learn something new. And I don't know why I let that hinder me for so long. Because I was always thinking in my head, I had this serious imposter syndrome, like, oh, who am I? What do I even bring to the table? Like, who even cares? Like, who's going to listen to what I have to say? Like, okay, listen, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right? I didn't realize that being revolutionary is like, it's so multi-dimensional, because like I said, we all have overlapping experiences, so we're all going to have overlapping thoughts as well. And I'd like to urge you all to think about that yourselves, because I know that there are a lot of people who have creative ideas, but because of social media and the consistent regurgitation of ideas and the vast amount of media that exists on our planet today, you're probably seeing the same ideas over and over and over again. And that may mislead you, because it misled me to think that, well, what else is there to talk about? It's all already been spoken about. But guys, like, if we had a finite level of ideas and a finite level of conversations that needed to be had, what would be the point of us living up to 2024? And like, the people who lived before us, 2024 years of straight conversation sounds boring as hell. Sounds so boring. Surely we would have figured things out already. Humans are smart. We do be dumb sometimes, but like, there's a lot of intelligent humans that exist today and have existed before. So surely we would have hit our peak by now. But just us still living and having ideas and having conversations to this day is a testament to the potential we have to explore more and to delve deeper. And this is why I want to do what I'm doing right now. Let's delve deeper. Let's explore more, because I have so much that I'm dying to talk about. I got my journal right here. Look at her in all her beauty. I just hit myself in the face. But my journal is right here. I always have so many things to say. If I just went a page a day from my journal, I could have a podcast episode for each page. And there's several pages, and this isn't the only journal I own. So that should also be testament to the fact that your ideas will never be boring. They'll never be overplayed and overdone, except for the who pays on the first date. And actually, in fact, that should be another testament to the fact that we will never run out of things to say, because I feel like we keep talking about the same things all the time, and I'm tired. I'm tired of talking about the same old boring shit. But hey, people are still making money and life goes on. The earth keeps spinning. So why can't I add my own little twist to it? Why can't I throw something in? Throw a spanner in the works. Go crazy. You know? But even at that, when I say all of that, I'm not saying that I'm some sort of messiah. Like, I'm not someone who's going to come and find out the mystery of the world or whatever. I'm just someone who observes things very, very intensely. Like, very intensely, hence the whole wallflower thing. I'm just constantly looking and thinking about why things happen the way they do and why people do the things that they do. But yeah, as I speak about these things that presumably allowed me to go against the grain, I'm not going to label what I say as some sort of original miraculous idea. We've all probably shared very similar ideologies and had very similar questions about the world that we live in. But I'm just here to remind you once again that the world was made for people like you. You are not strange. You're not crazy. You're not insane. You're everything that you need to be to function in the world that you've been placed in. Okay? It sounds very silly, very la-di-da, because a lot of you are probably fighting for your life at home with a very mentally backwards family, or you're with friends who are very close-minded, or you just don't have anyone to speak about rich intellectual conversation. You may not have those people with you, but regardless, that does not mean you need to assimilate and blend in. There's no requirement for that, because that's not going to serve anybody, especially not yourself. When you think about trying to keep the peace in your friendships or your family or whoever you surround yourself with, ask yourself whose peace you're keeping before you mellow down and backtrack on your statements. Ask yourself whose peace you're keeping, because it's not yours. I've done that for years. I've had thoughts, I've had opinions, I've had experiences that I've wanted to talk about that I just stay quiet on, because I'm like, oh, what's the point? I'm just gonna start a problem. I'm just gonna lose friends. I'm gonna lose this and this and this and this and this. So let me just stay quiet. And staying quiet, I guarantee you, I've never had less of a sense of identity than I did when I stayed quiet. I'm going to tell you that for free. I can guarantee you, you'll feel so much happier getting those ideas out in the air within reason. Of course, please, if you are in an environment where you are actually physically at risk for speaking your mind, speak within reason, please. Or don't speak at all if you don't have the medium through which you can speak and express yourself and still be safe. Anyway, I feel like I'm waffling. Let me go back to my notes. But yeah, just remember, when you start to, doubt yourself and doubt your purpose and wonder why it is you were wired this way and programmed to be such a contrarian in your life, just remember that your life and the very essence of your being is a testament to the fact that other people like you exist. You're a testament to those other people that they can exist and thrive in a society that thinks otherwise. Like I said, I feared trying to dip my toe into a pool that's already brimming with creativity. The podcast scene, the creative scene, not even just in Ireland. I'm not really speaking based on this country, but I'm just speaking like as a whole, because I think with the extent that like the mass, I don't even know how to describe it, but like the mass that social media consumes, it's too big to talk about it on a national scale anymore. You have to talk globally. I can hit a home in Australia the same way someone from New Zealand can hit me through my phone. Not like, but I mean, I can, you know what I mean. I'm not even going to explain myself, because this is what I be doing when I talk to myself on my bed right here. I start explaining myself to myself, and then I just look like I'm going crazy, which is why I'm doing it here, because at least this can go somewhere and not just up bouncing around the walls of my room. See the way I'm already rambling now? Anyway, as I was saying, I'm not even speaking on a national scale, but on a global scale, this community is brimming with creativity. And it's like, how could I possibly top this? Guys, don't go into something with the aim of topping it. Ooh, pause. Anyways, as I was saying, don't go into something with the aim of trying to be the best of the best, okay? Unless you're competing in sport, there's no such thing as the best of the best in creativity, right? There are people who maybe have the most tools, just the means of making their content a lot more appealing to people. But if you know what you bring to the table, when you add that drop into the ocean already full of creativity, it's not going to topple over. When you know what you bring to the table, that table's not going to shake. You're going to be stable, and you're going to sit exactly in the space that you belong, because that space is sitting there waiting for you. The ocean, or the body of water that I'm referring to as a metaphor for the creativity that exists within this space, it's everlasting. There's an infinite amount of space for so many people to make their mark. So don't think that the journey is over just because so many other people have completed theirs. Because let's be real, no one completes their journey here until they're gone. Okay, we're all still building, we're all still evolving. Some of us are going to devolve. I don't think that's a word, but some people drop out and more spaces become available. So take up your space while it's there, okay? Because again, like the way water moves, that space can disappear when you wait around too long. Waves don't stay up like that forever. They're going to come crashing down, and they will never come back up the same way again. So get yourself comfortable in that wave and ride it, okay? Ooh, that was kind of a good metaphor, but I feel like I made it millennial by going like this. Big up my millennials though. I feel like I'll be referencing you guys a lot in my humor, mostly for self-deprecating purposes, but listen, I still love you guys, okay? Mwah. Now, what was I going to say? When I speak about knowing what you bring to the table, or just knowing what you need to do to be a better person tomorrow than you were today, it's not just talking about a passion project. It can be something as small as going on a run every day. It can be something as minute as getting through the day without crying. But as long as you have that goal and you know that you're capable, then you've already cracked the code. And that's what I had to tell myself too, to finally start this podcast, Like, you found your space. You know where you belong. So, like, why are you just sitting there looking at the space, and the space is looking at you, and you're looking at the space, and the space is looking at you? Occupy it. Occupy that space. As you occupy your space, allow me, goodness, my elbow. Ow. Occupy that space while I occupy mine and grow it and allow it to flourish. And maybe someday it can form a shelter for all of the black sheep in this world to find a safe space in thinking differently and having adverse opinions and realizing that they're not as adverse as we think they are. I'm just one person, but I represent many, okay? And you'll find that out soon enough. Let me even say it to the camera. The world was made for people exactly like you. Exactly like you. That doesn't mean that there's not room to evolve, and there's not room to let go of bad habits, and there's not room to develop some better habits. But the essence of who you are, it's perfect for the world that we live in, especially today, where I feel like there's a plateau in creativity. Sometimes you need to rock the boat a little bit, or fall into the ocean, and fit in the place that's been waiting for you, okay? So, with that being said, welcome to all my black sheep, to all my white sheep, to the farmers, to the shepherds, to the sheepdogs. I don't know why I'm using the sheep metaphor so much. I've never stepped foot on a farm in my life. But sure, look, whoever's involved with the black sheep, welcome. This is your new home. And I'm going to try and do my very best to make this as engaging and as enriching and as, enjoyable as possible. That's another thing. I feel like I kept thinking that I sound really boring and that you're going to find me boring. But listen, if you find me boring, you can click off, okay? If you don't find me boring, thank you. Because I swear I'm not boring in real life. I think I'm just awkward still in front of the mic. I think I'm still trying to have a conversation with myself. Because like I said, I'm usually there in the dark talking to myself. So I don't have to think about being boring or how I'm articulating myself, because when I am articulating myself in an interesting way, it's with other people. So it's almost kind of more difficult to maintain a conversation on my own. But I'm getting there. We're working on it and we're doing things that are new to us because life is only so long. Do I have anything else to say? Let me check my notes. Yes. Okay. Another thing that I did want to say. So after talking about everything that made me doubt myself and everything that made me, second guess whether or not I even wanted to do this podcast, whether or not I felt like I was worthy of having this platform, I think what changed is I feel like you'll only know this once you hit a certain age. If you're below the age of 20, I don't know if it'll hit the same for you. I'm 21, by the way. So I feel like it's even clicking a bit early. But when you just feel like a shift, I don't know how else to describe it, but I've been saying it to my boyfriend for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like there's a shift in the atmosphere that's making me question everything that I am and everything that I'm not. And everything that I'm not has to do with this podcast, because I envisioned a version of myself who has established my podcast or who has, made a name for themselves with something that involves a passion project of theirs. And I just realized that I have not made any steps towards making that happen or making that a reality at all. I think that almost kind of shook me a bit. Would scare be the right word? I don't think so, because it's the fear of failure or the fear of mediocrity that paralyzed me from doing this in the first place. And I may talk about that in a future episode because this is already getting quite long. I just felt like enough is enough. I even had to journal it because, okay, so I journaled this on the 12th of August. The last time I journaled before that was the 16th of March. And before that I was journaling pretty consistently. So you can see the shift kind of started happening early, where I just felt like this exponential decrease in my confidence. Anyways, I'm gonna read an excerpt from my diary from the 12th. Let's see what I said. I feel like I've done too much waiting around for the right time, the right climate at home, the right people to back and support me. Meanwhile, the whole premise of my passion project was to carve a path of my own. If I don't fit into a certain space or into someone's priority list or the perfect time and environment to help me flourish, then I will forge my own. This is my time. I may not feel the most equipped or knowledgeable or confident, but I'm ready to face that now. I can't keep waiting or my time is gonna pass me by. I just can't stand that. See, a shift has been happening. I don't know if it's my prefrontal cortex developing, hence why I said I don't know if the younger listeners will fully get what I'm saying, but maybe I'm just maturing a little bit. But I think the thought of all of my dreams and all of the opportunities I've had to exact my purpose and to fulfill my dreams just passing me by and living a life of regretting and wishing that I started sooner has kind of just haunted me, and it's left me feeling very rattled. I don't know, even in my day-to-day life I've just felt very I felt this discomfort in the life that I'm living right now, that it feels rather stagnant and it feels rather ordinary, And I don't like that. I don't like that. So I'm here now. Don't worry, guys. I'm here as if you've been waiting, as if you've been dying to hear what I have to say. And it's funny because people have been saying oh, you really should start a podcast or something. I'd love to hear what you bring to the table and hear longer versions of the points that you bring up online. And I just haven't done it because I just did not believe in myself. But anyways, enough about my sob story and enough about how I didn't believe in myself, blah, blah, blah. The point is I do now. I'm here to make sure that you do the same. Maybe even hold you accountable a little bit. If you have this YouTube channel or you want to start photography, or you need to get some assignments done, or you need to apply for that master's course that you said you never, ever, ever have the brain capacity to do, you better go and fill that form right now. I'm going to go find you. I don't care who you are. Because, like, come on, guys. Come on. We have all this power, and we're just not using it. All these opportunities, and we're just not using it. I'm not talking about the people who don't have a choice, okay? I'm honestly talking about the people who do. We are so privileged to have the ability to do things for the sake of being passionate about them and not to just get by. We're so lucky to be able to explore our passions or even think about them and even envision them actually happening. Because for some people, it's just a faraway dream. But for us, it could actually be a reality of some sort. And we're just letting time pass us by. We're just letting life go on. What are we doing? I think that's just the phrase of the last few weeks. Like, enough is enough. Why am I sitting here on my ass waiting for my time to come? I know that this is something that I'm supposed to be doing, and I know that it's going to get to a time where I've established myself, whether it's with this podcast or whether it's with something else in the future, but I know it starts here. But I've been waiting for this time to come instead of making that time for myself, you know? Like, who am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? Who's gonna come and save me and sit me down on my ass and put the mic up and set it up and set up the lighting and make me speak and edit and post? Who's gonna do that? Because I know nobody else is gonna do it. So what am I waiting for? What was I waiting for? It looks like I'm speaking to multiple people because I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at the camera. But what have I been waiting for? That is the question. I don't know. Okay? But I'm tired of waiting. I've been tired of waiting because I'm like, okay, I've done all this waiting. I've done all this thinking in my heart. Like, oh, maybe I should just talk about this. Maybe I should post about this. I have a really good take on this, but I'll play it safe and post it on my Insta story. And I'll get a few likes and people saying, oh, you should really start a podcast. I'd love to hear what you say. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry. It's loading. And then I feel really hype in that moment. Like, yeah, I'm going to start. And I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh, actually, never mind. You're not all that. And then the cycle continued for the last how many months now? How many months? I'm tired. I got to a point where I was just sick and tired of waiting for myself to cop on and get shit done. And yeah, that time ends now. It just goes to show when fear takes over your mind, it will play the craziest tricks on you and it will make you just question your whole entire being. It'll make you say the craziest, meanest things about yourself. That's actually what happened to me. I was a victim of that for months until now. Now I'm sitting here and I'm actually recording. So this is really exciting for me. This is really, really exciting because I know this is the start of something really, really great. Really, really great. And of course, I still have the doubts in the back of my mind, like, what if it doesn't work? What if people don't like it? What if I'm boring? And blah, 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 blah. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Like I said, I know this is all going to sound like gibberish, cliche, blah, 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 blah. So I'm actually going to shut up now because this has gone on for far too long. This is an hour of footage that I have to go and edit. But anyways, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. Some people might look at the link that I'll post on my story and they'll roll their eyes and be like, ugh, this bitch talking again, as she always does on her silly little Insta story. But this time we're just thinking a little bit bigger. Like, if you don't want to see the Insta story, that's fine, but you're gonna see the podcast, okay? And I'm gonna post the link every damn time. Thank you very much. Anyway, guys, I don't know how we got here. This is just supposed to be a cute little hello, a cute little how are you? Thank you for coming. I missed you. What? You guys don't even know who I am. I don't even know who you are. We'll find out though. I'm so excited to see what kind of audience I garner from this. You know, I'm just excited to see like what I can put out there and what comes back to me. See like what you guys take from what I have to say, and also seeing which guests I bring on, because once I get my second microphone to work, it's over for everybody. But listen, thank you so much for sticking it out with me for however long this podcast may be. Right now, I've recorded for about 55 minutes, which is insane. I mean, including huge gaps where I was trying to figure out what to say next. Why am I just airing my shit out? Why am I just telling you guys that I've edited chunks of silence out? Well, I kind of have to. I'm here alone. Like, who's going to fill the silence for me? I can do it for 5 to 7 minutes, but not 55. That's a bit mad. But anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. I guess the moral of today's story is that the world is in fact made for people like you. And this podcast will be a testament to that. It will be a platform for you to constantly be reminded of that, because it is true. No matter what it is that you decide to do with your life, it has a purpose, and I'd like for you to walk in that and like feel confident in the fact that you have something to bring to the table. No matter how big or small that table is, that table could be as big as social media or the Olympic podium, or it could be something as quaint and as intimate as doing something for yourself. Regardless, I hope that you don't lose faith in yourself and what you bring to that table. Okay, the world is made for people just like you. So I'm excited to see what we can all connect on and what ideas we all, share, and the experiences that overlap in all of our different crazy but interesting lives. I'm really, really excited to see what I'll end up yapping about next, so stay tuned. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode, the first ever episode of Black Sheep, and I hope to catch you in the next one. I'm really excited to see what I end up talking about next and how you guys receive this first one. Please let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, or just pop me a DM. Most of you are probably just my friends or family anyway, so please just be honest. Let me know what you think about it and how I can improve and how I can make this enjoyable for everyone. Because guys, speaking for 1 hour straight, it's not biscuit, or it's not easy at all. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to the first episode of many of Black Sheep podcasts. I can't wait to talk to you guys very, very soon. This has been really fun. I've been your host, Keziah, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, in a bit.